You ever wake up one morning and realize you're about to go to war? Not the kind with guns and flags, but a war over a treehouse, a patch of backyard, and you're right to let your kids laugh out loud without asking permission from some smug committee? Yeah, that happened to me, and trust me, it still feels like a fever dream sometimes. Let me back up a sec, because you need to know just how nuts it got, and why I'm still out here, hammer in hand, refusing to back down. I'm Ethan Cameron, 38, a guy who likes building stuff that actually lasts, not the IKEA kind. 10 years back, I found this perfect slice of Oregon on the edge of Eugene. 2 acres of nothing but fir trees, wild blackberries, and the kind of peace you can't put a price on. I paid for every inspection, crawled the records, even hired a lawyer to double-check that I was free and clear. No HOA, no hidden catch, just old school, real deal private property. You know what I mean? I wanted my own little kingdom, somewhere my kids could run wild, and I didn't have to think twice about whether my fence was the wrong shade of taupe. At first, it was just simple things: cutting grass, planting apple trees, building a real fence, not those wobbly picket ones you see in suburban nightmares. But as my kids got older, so did my dreams. I wanted them to have the kind of adventures that kids used to have before everything had a warning label or a fee. So, I built them the works: a triple-decker treehouse with a zip line, a trampoline sunk into the ground so nobody could fall off, a man-made hill with a double water slide, and even a saltwater pool with tiles I laid on my knees watching YouTube for weeks. The whole place looked like Disneyland for underdogs, and I loved every inch of it. My rules, my sweat, my laughter echoing under the pine canopy. Neighbors would sometimes peek over, ask if their kids could join. I tried to be polite, but I was clear: liability's no joke, and this was for my family, not a community fair. Not everyone liked that. You could feel the whispers, a couple cold shoulders, but hey, that's life. For a long while, it was just us, and it was good. Then came last summer. We planned a trip to Montana to see my wife's family. 1 week away, enough to miss the Oregon rain and load up on her mom's blackberry cobbler. Before we left, I checked every gate, locked up the house like Fort Knox, and set up the cameras I'd installed in the backyard. Yeah, maybe overkill, but when you build high tree houses, you worry about safety. Everything was set. I even told my only trustworthy neighbor, Dennis, to keep an eye out. First few days were peaceful. The kids ran with goats, and I slept like I hadn't in years. Then, on the 5th day, the camera feed cut out. Just like that, dead. I figured it was the internet, or maybe Dennis knocked a cable loose. Didn't think twice. That was my first mistake. We came home late Saturday. The sun was low, and the kids shot out of the car, shouting for the treehouse like they'd been away a year. I was still pulling bags when the shouting stopped. Then, one of them screamed, a sound I'll never forget. I ran back, expecting a skinned knee, maybe a snake, but what I saw stopped me cold. Everything was gone. The treehouse, ripped out. Trampoline shredded, pool cracked open and dry, slides hacked in half, picnic tables smashed. Even the fairy lights from the pavilion were pulled down, thrown in a pile like garbage. But it wasn't random, like some punk teens trashed the place. This was methodical. Heavy tracks in the dirt. The earth scraped flat, all evidence erased. And then, hanging on the inside of my own gate, a little metal sign. Unauthorized structures removed. Evergreen Trails Enforcement Division. Just like that, some HOA cosplay squad had bulldozed my kids' dreams. My wife covered her mouth. My daughter was sobbing, clutching her brother. I was shaking. I stumbled inside, grabbed the backup hard drive for the cameras. Thank God I kept it off the cloud, hidden in the office wall, and watched the playback. There they were, a crew in reflective vests, bolt cutters on my lock, and right at the front, Karen Pendleton, the self-declared queen of compliance. I'd seen her at city meetings, always moaning about code violations and property values. She marched in like she owned the world, pointing and barking orders while her crew ripped my place apart. No warnings, no police, no nothing. Just a bunch of strangers on my land, tearing down everything I'd built. My kids watched the footage. My daughter lost it when she saw them pull down her lights. My son stared at the screen like someone had killed his best friend. I called the police. A young cop came by. Looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, but his face changed when I showed him the deeds, the maps, the lawyer's letter, all proving my land was not in the HOA, never had been. Then I played him the video of Karen leading the charge. Suddenly, he was all business, calling in a detective. "Mr. Cameron, you're the victim of criminal trespass, vandalism, and unlawful destruction of property." Damn right. That was the spark. I sent the video to my lawyer, told her I wanted to go nuclear. She didn't hesitate. Lawsuits, criminal charges, restraining orders, the works. But it didn't stop there. When I shared the footage on social media, it spread like wildfire. Other neighbors started coming out of the woodwork. Folks who'd been bullied, fined, or threatened over doghouses, shed colors, even a damn garden gnome. Someone sent me a new HOA map that conveniently included my property, hand-drawn, obviously fake, with the wrong font and everything. It was a straight-up forgery. Within days, the cops traced the heavy equipment rental back to George Pendleton, Karen's husband. Not just a bystander, but the guy driving the loader in the footage, crowbar in hand, smashing up my swing set. They issued a warrant for Karen's arrest. She was picked up at a brunch, still holding a mimosa, screaming about community standards as they cuffed her. The video went viral. Her mugshot became a meme. She claimed she was the law in Evergreen Trails. Yeah, good luck with that. The county prosecutor didn't hold back. Trespass, conspiracy, destruction, fraud, all of it. The HOA board tried to throw her under the bus, saying she acted alone, but my lawyer dropped the hammer, a video of Karen shouting, "We're doing this whether he likes it or not." End of story. Turns out, the rot ran deeper. Richard K., a board member who had a conscience, quit and leaked hundreds of emails. They'd been plotting to expand jurisdiction, tear down visual violations, and bill the HOA through George's bogus company. The money trail was wild. Over $120,000 siphoned to fake companies, mostly for demolitions on properties outside their control. The board resigned in droves, and the judge granted an emergency order freezing all HOA accounts. You think it stopped there? Not a chance. I started getting threats, blocked calls, creepy texts, photos of my yard. One night, I caught George himself trying to torch the edge of my property, caught on camera with a gas can. The sheriff hauled him in for violating bail, arson, intimidation. He cracked, flipped on the board, turned over every contract, every payment, every secret vendor. The fraud was staggering. The public hearing was something else. Packed courthouse, reporters everywhere, neighbors with picket signs, "Not in our name." My lawyer showed drone footage of the destruction, emails about strategic jurisdiction expansion, and the county assessor swore under oath that my property was never, not once, in Evergreen Trails. The judge ruled on the spot. HOA dissolved, a court receiver in charge, all assets frozen, my family first in line for damages. Karen pled out, confessed to everything in tears, sentenced to 11 years. George got house arrest, restitution, and the HOA was gone, struck from the records. Settlement came in, almost $500,000. But the real win? Watching Karen's house sell in foreclosure, then buying it myself at auction. Not to live in, but to turn into a free community center for families bullied by HOAs. We called it the Free Zone. News crews came from all over. Even the state Senate passed a law, the Cameron Act, forcing HOAs to disclose their limits and boundaries up front. The best part? My family rebuilt everything. New tree houses, rope bridges, a deeper pool, a fountain picked by my daughter, all built twice as strong as before. Every Saturday now, we host backyard democracy, burgers, stories, and a reminder that no one owns your happiness but you. My youngest tied a dragon to the railing and declared it the guardian. On the treehouse wall hangs a news clipping of Karen in cuffs, with a speech bubble some neighbor added. It violated aesthetic cohesion. Yeah, I could have walked away bitter, but what's the point? Instead, I gotta show my kids what it looks like when you stand up, rebuild, and refuse to let fear win. The old HOA clubhouse. Now it's on its way to being a park, Liberty Hollow, if they take my suggestion. So let me ask you, where do you stand when someone tries to take what you built with your own two hands? Would you fight back or just fold? Drop a comment. Tell me your story, your take on what's fair and what's right. Like and share if you believe in fighting for what's yours, and if you've ever tangled with an HOA, you're not alone. This is your land. Don't ever forget it.